Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Transcendental Journey of Spiritual Evolution to the Topmost Planet in the Spiritual World. Touring all the different planets along the way and all the different philosophies along the way that take us to the Absolute Truth. So welcome to all of you. I've been told that we have 1,250 followers. Not always there every night live because people are from all over the world, but it means that we're growing. The family of this daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books is growing. It was a dear desire of Srila Prabhupada that his books be read by seekers, sincere seekers of spiritual life. And he repeatedly told us in his purports that just by hearing sincerely from these books, our attachment for Krishna will grow. It's already there, but it will be uncovered, and if we can somehow or other get a super attachment to Krishna by reading these books, then when we leave our bodies, and everyone's going to leave their bodies, even if you don't realize it, and even if you don't believe it, and even if you don't want to hear about it, it's inevitable. Sure as death, they say. So this is the preparation for death and the preparation for how to live in this world free from fear, living in the light of pure spiritual attachment to the Supreme Absolute Truth. So this is the process. It's simple, it's direct, it doesn't require any material qualifications, any education, special education. It doesn't require any cultural experience. It doesn't require anything except for sincerity. If we sincerely hear these literatures, not blindly, but not with challenging or arguing spirit. We can ask questions, and when we get our questions removed, the doubts that promote our questions inside our hearts, when they're removed, it uncovers the identity of the soul. And the general identity of the soul for everyone, every living being in this universe, is a servant. But we're trying in the material world to be masters. And the personalities and the events in this transcendental history of the universe, the Srimad-Bhagavatam, teaches us how to live, to think, to feel, to will, and to act in spiritual life, in spiritual culture. So Srila Prabhupada, who spent his life translating and commenting on the essence of the Vedic literatures, which are Sanskrit texts which describe the history of the universe and the way the universe is organized, not should be organized, but is organized, and how to live within the laws of that organization. And when we don't, all hell breaks loose, as we can see in front of our eyes nowadays, in the numbers of natural disasters and psychological and mental and physical disturbances that are going on in the earth, political, economic, social, even familial. It is unnatural, all these things. So the natural life, what to do and what not to do, are given in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So here we are. We're going to read a very special prayer. I gave that introduction because we have a couple of new devotees in the room, and new spiritual seekers in the room, and I just wanted to give you a little background as to what we're doing. We're going to read, before we read the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and you're coming in on the middle, so don't worry, there'll be nice explanations in every verse to help you plug in. This is a prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Is that noise? Can it be? Maybe. Excuse me?
It's to cool down the room.
It's what?
It's to
Cool down the room.
He lowered the thermostat, but it'll
Okay, okay, that's fine. And that noise is Okay. Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, written by Srila Sanatan Goswami. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Padaya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nishtadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chochata kada hanamun chigadachin mam premna rit kanta yospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we've reached the fourth canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and the title is Daksha performs the sacrifice. So this is the second time that Daksha has performed this sacrifice, because the first time he became envious of Lord Shiva. His daughter was married to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is a very special person. He doesn't care where he's living. He doesn't have a house, and he lives underneath a tree. And he's extremely renounced. He just wears ashes on his body. And he's is extremely spiritually advanced. The most spiritually advanced person in the universe. Sometimes in India they worship him as God, but he worships Krishna as God. So if you want to be a devotee of Shiva, then you should worship Krishna. But we have to give him all respect, because he's a qualitative incarnation of Krishna who's administrating the mode of ignorance. There's 3 modes of nature in this material world which combine together to create all the forms. Kind of like the inkjet pots you get in your inkjet printer, red, blue, and yellow, or the colors that are combined together in your computer screen to make all the colors. There's only 3 basic colors, and they all combine together to make all the colors. So like that, there's 3 three-dimensional, touchy-feely energies that mix together to create all the forms that we can see and touch and feel and smell and taste and everything. So this event happened toward the beginning of the universe. The universe is created, maintained, and destroyed by Lord Vishnu through his expansions and through his energies. And two of those expansions are Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Brahma is the creator, Lord Shiva is the destroyer, and Lord Vishnu is both the original creator and the maintainer of the universe. So now what's happening is, after Lord Shiva punished Daksha and the other persons who were conducting this huge sacrifice in the beginning of the creation, Daksha was then brought back to life by Shiva, because he's the ultimate yogi. Ultimate yogis can do really amazing things that seem like mythology to us, but actually, these things actually happen. This is history. And if you can hear it with that in mind, you will learn a lot. So right now what's happening is a lot of categories of personalities. This is getting to be a bit too much, you know. Sure. Yeah. And then something to... Oh, thanks. We have a master electrician here. He knows all about these switches and what they run. No, which ones do. It's not enough to know electricity. You got to know what runs what. Okay. Now all these different personalities are offering prayers to Lord Vishnu, who appeared in the sacrifice after Daksha performed it properly, after he gave up his envy of Lord Shiva, and he's still materially attached, because anybody who goes to the trouble to do these kind of sacrifices has got to be ambitious, both materially and spiritually. Okay, text 45. The Brahmanas that are conducting the sacrifice are now offering their prayers to Lord Vishnu, who is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Krishna. Krishna, Christo, Christa, Christ. Same name. Different names for the same person. Dear Lord, you are sacrifice personified. You are the offering of clarified butter. You are the fire. You are the chanting of Vedic hymns by which the sacrifice is conducted. You are the fuel. You are the flame. You are the kusha grass. And you are the sacrificial pots. You are the priests who perform the yajna. You are the demigods headed by Indra. And you are the sacrificial animal. Everything that is sacrificed is you, or your energy. Purport. In this statement of Lord Vishnu's all-pervasiveness is partially explained. In this statement, Lord Vishnu's all-pervasiveness is partially explained. It is said in the Vishnu Purana that as a fire situated in one place emanates its heat and illumination everywhere, so whatever we see within the material or spiritual worlds is nothing but a manifestation of different energies emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahmana's statement is that Lord Vishnu is everything: the fire, the offering, the clarified butter, the utensils, the place of sacrifice, and the kusha. He is everything. It is confirmed herein that the performance of Sankirtan Yajna in this age is as good as all other yajnas in all other ages. If one performs Sankirtan Yajna by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, there's no need to arrange elaborate paraphernalia for the prescribed sacrificial ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. In the chant of the holy names, Hare and Krishna, Hare means the energy of Krishna, and Krishna is the Vishnu Tattva. Combined together, they are everything. In this age, persons are harassed by the influence of Kali Yuga and cannot arrange for all the requisite paraphernalia for performing sacrifice as recommended in the Vedas. But if one simply chants Hare Krishna, it is to be understood that he is performing all kinds of yajna, because there is nothing within our vision except Hare, the energy of Krishna, and Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna and his energies. Thus, since everything is a manifestation of his energy, it is to be understood that everything is Krishna. One simply has to accept everything in Krishna consciousness, and he is a liberated person. One should not misunderstand that because everything is Krishna, Krishna has no personal identity. Krishna is so full that in spite of keeping himself separate from everything by his energy, he is everything. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter. He is spread throughout the creation as everything, but still he is not everything. The philosophy recommended by Lord Chaitanya is that he is simultaneously one and different. Text 46. Dear Lord, O personified Vedic knowledge, in the past millennium, long, long ago, when you appeared as the great boar incarnation, you picked up the world from the water, as an elephant picks up a lotus flower from a lake. When you vibrated transcendental sound in that gigantic form of a boar, the sound was accepted as a sacrificial hymn, and great sages like Sanaka meditated upon it and offered prayers for your glorification. Purport. A significant word used in this verse is Trayi Gatra, which means that the transcendental form of the Lord is the Vedas. You know, there's a verse in the Bible, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So the Vedas are eternal sound that are co-eternal with God and enter into the material creation when it's created and gives the codes of how to organize all the forms and all the relationships and all the living places and everything in the material world. So here we'll read this again. A significant word used in this verse is Trayi Gatra, which means that the transcendental form of the Lord is the Vedas. Anyone who engages in the worship of the deity or the form of the Lord in the temple is understood to be studying all the Vedas 24 hours a day. Simply by decorating the deities of the Lord, Radha and Krishna, in the temple, one very minutely studies the injunctions of the Vedas. Even a neophyte devotee who simply engages in the worship of the deity is understood to be in direct touch with the purport of Vedic knowledge. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaish Chisarvair Aham Eva Vedyaha. The purport of the Vedas is to understand him, Krishna. One who worships and serves Krishna directly has understood the truths of the Vedas. Doctor, we have your chair over here. Oh yeah, give him that chair. You come over here. You're more mobile. Young lad. Hari Ballabh, Hari Krishna. Our local doctor, Hari Ballabh, senior disciple of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and protector of all the devotees' health, by the way, including yours truly, Hari Krishna. Saved me in more ways than one. Okay, this is a very interesting concept. Simply by decorating the deities of the Lord, Radha and Krishna, in the temple, one very minutely studies the injunctions of the Vedas. Even a neophyte devotee who simply engages in the worship of the deity is understood to be in direct touch with the purport of Vedic knowledge. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaish Chisarvaraham Eva Vedyak. The purport of the Vedas is to understand him, Krishna. one who worships and serves Krishna directly has understood the truths of the Vedas. So there's two processes. One is called Pancharatrika, and the other is called Bhagavat Marg. What we're doing right now is called Bhagavat Marg. We're hearing about Krishna and all the details of the science of Krishna consciousness. And the deity worship and the following the rules and the relation and regulations pertaining to deity worship is the second. It's like the train runs on two rails, and one of the rails isn't there, the train gets off the track. So we're recommended to both worship the deity and also hear about the deity. The Srimad-Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad-Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, these are the basic, essential, and summary studies of all the Vedas. There's millions of verses of the Vedas, but they're all succinctly, summarily described in these books. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. So this is a science, it's a great science. But like I said, it's not the science that requires some kind of higher degree from a university. It simply requires a soul, which every one of us has, just in case you didn't notice. And although we all talk about, mind, we've never seen it. My mind is disturbed, but nobody can tell because they can't see it. I mean, sometimes you act out the disturbance to your mind, and then everyone can see something. But the real mind and intelligence, the subtle body, no one can see. You may be sleeping at night and dreaming that you're being chased by a tiger. And you may even say, "Tiger, tiger," and somebody sleeping next to you or sitting next to you, there's no tiger. But you're seeing a tiger in your dream, in your subtle body. So we accept things that we can't see every day. The Bhagavatam teaches us how to see what's actually going on by expanding our consciousness by the process of hearing and worshipping the deity. Text 47. Dear Lord, we were awaiting your audience because we have been unable to perform the yajnas according to the Vedic rituals. We pray unto you, therefore, to be pleased with us. Simply by chanting your holy name, one can surpass all obstacles. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you in your presence. Purport. The Brahmana priests were very hopeful that their sacrifice would be carried out without obstacles now that Lord Vishnu was present. It is significant in this verse that the Brahmanas say, simply by chanting your holy name, we can surpass the obstacles, but now you are personally present. The performance of yajna by Daksa was obstructed by the disciples and followers of Lord Shiva. The Brahmanas indirectly criticized the followers of Lord Shiva, but because the Brahmanas were always protected by Lord Vishnu, Shiva's followers could not do any harm to their prosecution of the sacrificial process. There is a saying that when Krishna protects someone, no one can do him any harm. And when Krishna wants to kill someone, no one can protect him. The vivid example was Ravana. Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but when Lord Ramachandra wanted to kill him, Lord Shiva could not protect him. If some demigod, even Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, wants to do harm to a devotee, Krishna protects the devotee. But when Krishna wants to kill someone, such as Ravana or Hiranyakashipu, no demigod can protect him. So then one may argue in the mind, God's killing someone? How is that possible? Well, no one is ever killed because the soul is eternal. But sometimes the souls get into bodies that cause a lot of mischief and a lot of disturbance to all the other souls living around. And God sees that and He's not pleased. And when it becomes intense enough, He comes here personally and deals with it. So this is the way he acts to protect all the innocent living beings. Text 48. Sri Maitreya said, after Lord Vishnu was glorified by all present, Daksha, his consciousness purified, arranged to begin again the yajna, which had been devastated by the followers of Lord Shiva. Text 49. Maitreya continued, my dear sinless Vidura, Lord Vishnu is actually the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. Yet because of his being the super soul of all living entities, he was satisfied simply with his share of the sacrificial offerings. He therefore addressed Daksha in a pleasing attitude. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.29, it is said, Bhoktadam Yagyatapasam. Lord Vishnu, or Krishna, is the supreme enjoyer of all the results of sacrifices, austerities, and penances. In whatever one may engage, the ultimate goal is Vishnu. If a person does not know that, he is misled. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu has nothing to demand from anyone. He is self-sufficient, self-satisfied, self-sufficient. But he accepts the offerings of yajna because of his friendly attitude toward all living entities. So one may ask, if he's so friendly toward all living entities, how come he kills some of them? Well, first of all, he doesn't. None of them die, because the living entity doesn't die. But the second thing is that if someone becomes bad enough to deserve being killed by God, by the touch of God at that time of death, he attains liberation automatically, without going through all the processes that normal people do. So he cares about everyone. He's neutral. He doesn't favor anyone particularly or not. But if one approaches him with love and devotion, he's naturally inclined to that person, just as we are, because we're parts of Krishna. We're very infinitesimal parts of Krishna. So if someone comes to us and offers us with real love, like a baby, who's innocent, completely innocent, no material desires, well, innocent material desires, comes to you with something, oh, here, this is for you, and takes it, immediately your heart opens. Immediately. So, if a person does not know that, he is misled. All of us in this material world are being misled by the material energy to think that we can become attached and own and control and love even material forms that are practically miserable. Present company not intended to offend, but we are all miserable in material bodies. Every moment there's something. It's too hot, it's too cold, this hurts, that doesn't hurt. And if you can turn on the cooler and make it a little bit better for a few minutes, then we're thinking that's pleasure. But then as soon as it stops, so the basic quality of material existence is suffering. And that's the way it's created, and it's done for purpose. It's not that God hates us, He loves us, and He doesn't want us to not know this. He doesn't want us to know, He doesn't want us to forget that we're actually souls and we're eternal. And the material energy is so strong that it convinces us, even in this lifetime, that we are something other than the soul. We're this material energy, we're this body, this is me. Even though I say every day and in every language of the world, this is my body. Do I ever say, or was I ever taught in school by the English experts, this is I body? Anybody in the room was taught like that? We're taught, this is my body. And that's the way the educational system in the material world operates, especially in modern so-called civilized society. We're all being taught to think that this is mine, and anything that belongs to it is also mine. This is me, and anything that belongs to it is mine. And therefore I'm in constant anxiety, because the more I get, the more I'm afraid that somebody else is going to come and take it away. And then what happens at the end? Everything is taken away. From everyone. Without exception. Material education teaches us to fear that and to resent that. Spiritual education it teaches us to realize that that's the way it's supposed to be. And it's not just to be accepted as a part of nature and nothing done about it. We're all busy, thinking about the problems of eating and, clothing and roofs over our heads and mates to attain and all these things. But actually what we're really wanting is freedom. And no one in the material world is free, no matter how much you think you are. When the nature comes and calls you, you gotta go. That's it. Basic line. And there's many other things, but that's the basic line for understanding. You're not in control. In the spiritual world, even in the spiritual world, we're not in control. But there, we're controlled by something else. We're not controlled by time. We're controlled by love. That's right. Everything that moves in the spiritual world and all the relationships and the forms, they're all interacting with one another out of love for God. He's in the center. Here, I'm in the center. That's the difference. Because I'm in the center, I'm in competition with someone else who is in the center. No matter how good we think the relationships are. And they break down, if not now, a year from now, 10 years from now, 100 years from now. Lord Vishnu, or Krishna, is the supreme enjoyer of all the results of sacrifices, austerities, and penances. In whatever one may engage, the ultimate goal is Vishnu. If a person does not know that, he is misled. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu has nothing to demand from anyone. He is self-satisfied, self-sufficient, but he accepts the offerings of yajna because of his friendly attitude toward all living entities. When his share of the sacrificial results was offered to him, he appeared very pleased. It is said in Bhagavad Gita 9:26, Patram pushpam palam toyam yomi bhaktya priyachtiti. If any devotee offers him even a small leaf or a flower or water, if it is offered with love and affection, the Lord accepts it and is pleased. Now this was the basic principle of all religions in the history of the universe. Before the Kali Yuga, everyone wouldn't put anything into the mouth if it was not offered with love for Krishna, for God, or for whatever name you have for him, Krishna, Christo, Christa, Christ. Got it? So, that's called communion. It started out in Christianity that everything that you ate had to be offered. And then gradually, as the thing kind of disintegrated, you go to a church once a year or once a week or whatever, and they have special communion, and the priest walks by and puts a little wafer in your mouth. You drink a little wine or fruit juice. That's the body of Christ or whatever it is in that particular religion. And then that's communion. And then that's supposed to purify you. But actually everything that we eat is supposed to be communion. And that is what Krishna Prasad is. Krishna's mercy. Prasad means mercy. Okay. Another point here is that Krishna, Krishna, does not encroach upon another's share. In the yajna there is a share for the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, and a share for Lord Vishnu. He is satisfied with his own share and does not encroach upon others. Indirectly, he indicated that he was not satisfied with Daksha's trying to deny Lord Shiva his share. Maitri addressed Vidura as sinless because Vidura was a pure Vaishnava and never committed any offense to any demigod. although Vaishnavas accept Lord Vishnu as the Supreme, they are not prone to offend demigods. They give the demigods proper respect. Vaishnavas accept Lord Shiva as the best Vaishnava. For a Vaishnava, there is no possibility of offending any demigod. And the demigods are also pleased with the Vaishnava because they are faultless devotees of Lord Vishnu. Hare Krishna Chaitanya. Text 50. Lord Vishnu replied, Brahma, Lord Shiva and I are the supreme cause of the material manifestation. I am the Supersoul, the self-sufficient witness. But impersonally, there is no difference between Brahma, Lord Shiva, and me. Purport. Lord Brahma was born out of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva was born out of the body of Brahma. Lord Vishnu, therefore, is the supreme cause. In the Vedas also it is stated that in the beginning there was only Vishnu, Narayana. There was no Brahma or Shiva. Similarly, Shankaracharya confirmed this, Narayana Parat. Narayana, or Lord Vishnu, is the origin, and Brahma and Shiva are manifested after creation. Lord Vishnu is also Atmeshwara, the Supersoul in everyone. Under his direction, everything is prompted from within. For example, in the beginning of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, it is stated, Tenhe Brahma Ridha. He first educated Lord Brahma from within. In Bhagavad Gita 10.2, Lord Krishna states, Aham Adir Hidevanam. Lord Vishnu, or Krishna, is the origin of all demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. In another place in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Krishna states, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavak. Everything is generated from me. This includes all the demigods. Similarly, in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmad Yasya Yataha, and in the Upanishads is the statement, Yato va imani bhutani jayante. Everything is generated from Lord Vishnu, everything is maintained by him, and everything is annihilated by his energy. Therefore, by their actions and reactions, the energies which come from him create the cosmic manifestations and also dissolve the whole creation. Thus the Lord is the cause and also the effect. Whatever effect we see is the interaction of his energy. And because the energy is generated from him, he is both cause and effect. Simultaneously, everything is different and the same. It is said that everything is Brahman. Sarvam Kalavidam Brahma. In the highest vision, nothing is beyond Brahman. And therefore Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are certainly non-different from him. Text 51. The Lord continued, My dear Daksha Dvija, I am the original personality of Godhead, but in order to create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation, I act through my material energy, and according to the different grades of activity, my representations are differently named. Purport. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.5, Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho, the whole world is energy released from the Supreme Source, the personality of Godhead, who, it is further stated in Bhagavad Gita, acts in superior energies and inferior energies. The superior energy is the living entity, who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. As parts and parcels, the living entities are not different from the Lord. The energy emanated from him is not different from him. But in the actual activity of this material world, the living entity is under the different qualities of material energy and in different forms. There are 8,400,000 life forms. The same living entity acts under the influence of the different qualities of material nature. The entities have different bodies, but originally, in the beginning of creation, Lord Vishnu is alone. For the purpose of creation, Brahma is manifested, and for annihilation, there is Lord Shiva. As far as the spiritual entrance into the material world is concerned, all beings are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but are under the covering of different material qualities. They have different names. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are qualitative incarnations of Vishnu as guna avatars. And Vishnu with them, accepts control of the quality of goodness. Therefore, he is also a qualitative incarnation like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Actually, the different names exist for different directions. Otherwise, the origin is one only. And this is the secret and the key to living peacefully on this earth, in this material world actually. And that is to understand that there can be only one source for everything. I have a source, my mother and father, they have a source, they have a source. All the little cats and dogs, they have their mothers and fathers, sources. And there's eventually not an amoeba at the beginning. Because the law of nature is that a creator cannot create a form that has more information content than the source. That is not possible. That is against the laws of nature. So therefore, if you keep tracing back the source, the original source has to have all the qualities that we can perceive and all the qualities we cannot perceive contained within the source. That is the law of nature. So we hear a lot about God is great in certain quarters of the earth, but how great and how that works, they have no idea. It's sentiment. And therefore they are taught, not by Krishna, but by misrepresenters all over the world now. And this is one of the symptoms of this age of Kali, is that more and more ignorance is prominent, and therefore even the teachers teach groups of people to hate other groups of people because they're worshipping a different god. When in fact, they cannot be worshipping a different god because there is only one God. And that is the gift given by Srila Prabhupada personally to the Western world by translating and commenting on these literatures which describe what is reality and how it's working and what the goal of life is and how to achieve it. Text 52. The Lord continued, "One who is not in proper knowledge thinks that demigods like Brahma and Shiva are independent, or he even thinks that the living entities are independent." Purport. The living entities, including Brahma, are not independently separated, but are counted within the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, being the Supersoul in every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, is directing everyone in the activities of the material modes of nature. No one can act independently of the sanction of the Lord, and therefore, indirectly, no one is different from the Supreme Person. Certainly not Brahma or Rudra, who are incarnations of the material nature's modes of passion and ignorance. Text 53. A person with average intelligence does not think the head and other parts of the body to be separate. Similarly, my devotee does not differentiate Vishnu, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, from anything or any living entity. Purport. Whenever there is a disease in any part of the body, the whole body takes care of the ailing part. I'll repeat that. whenever there is a disease in any part of the body, the whole body takes care of the ailing part. Similarly, a devotee's oneness, Maharaj, we have your chair right here, next to Tulsi Devi.
Thank you.
Because you, as an exalted person, deserve the most exalted seat. Well, it's true. We're just reading about it. For those who don't know who this is Giriraj Swami, my dear godbrother, who is also a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but a very special one because he had a lot of personal associates from Srila Prabhupada in India when Srila Prabhupada kind of started his movement in India and lifted up India into its original Krishna consciousness. We're reading the prayers, well now we're reading Vishnu responding to the prayers of all the different categories of persons after he appeared in the second sacrifice of Daksa, after Lord Shiva came and destroyed the first one, due to Daksa's envy of Lord Shiva. And we're being taught in the purports all about that. And along with it, a lot of other things about who we are and what this world is, as you know better than me. I feel a little awkward speaking in front of my senior godbrother. He's my senior godbrother. But I know that he wants me to do this because he tells me frequently that he wants me to do this.
Yes, please do.
Text 53. A person with average intelligence does not think the head and other parts of the body to be separate. Similarly, my devotee does not differentiate Vishnu, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, from anything or any living entity. Purport. Whenever there is disease in any part of the body, the whole body takes care of the ailing part. Similarly, a devotee's oneness is manifested in his compassion for all conditioned souls. Bhagavad Gita 5:18 says, Panditak Samadarshinaha. Those who are learned see everyone's conditional life equally. Devotees are compassionate to every conditioned soul, and therefore they are known as aparikya buddhi. Because devotees are learned and know that every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, they preach Krishna consciousness to everyone so that everyone may be happy. If a particular part of the body is diseased, the whole attention of the body goes to that part. Similarly, devotees care for any person who is forgetful of Krishna and therefore in material consciousness. The equal vision of the devotee is that he works to get all living entities back home, back to Godhead. And this is what our dear Srila Prabhupada taught us. And that's why he started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to educate as many people as he could, as are willing to accept this truth, so that they will actually feel compassion and want to help others rather than disturb others, etc., etc. Text 54. The Lord continued, one who does not consider Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or the living entities in general to be separate from the Supreme, and who knows Brahman, actually realizes peace. Others do not. Purport. Two words are very significant in this verse. Trayanam indicates three, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. Bidam means different. They are three, and therefore they are separate, but at the same time they are one. This is the philosophy of simultaneous oneness and difference, which is called Achintya Bedha Beda Tattva. The example given in the Brahma Samhita is that milk and yogurt are simultaneously one and different. Both are milk, but the yogurt has become changed. In order to achieve real peace, one should see everything and every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is independent, Every one of us is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This accounts for unity in diversity. There are diverse manifestations, but at the same time they are one in Vishnu. Everything is an expansion of Vishnu's energy. We're remembering a meeting together that we had years ago in Mayapur. Unity and diversity.
Yes.
Yeah. So the unity has to take care of the diversity and not... Anyway, that's a whole subject. Text 55. The sage Maitreya said, thus Daksha, the head of all Prajapatis, having been nicely instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, worshipped Lord Vishnu. After worshipping him by performing the prescribed sacrificial ceremonies, Daksha separately worshipped Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Purport. Lord Vishnu should be offered everything, and his prasad should be distributed to all the demigods. This practice is still followed in the temple of Jagannath at Puri. There are many temples of demigods around the main temple of Jagannath, and the prasad, which is offered first to Jagannath, is distributed to all the demigods. The deity of Bagalin is worshipped with the prasad of Vishnu, and also in the famous Lord Shiva temple of Bhubaneswar, the prasad of Lord Vishnu or Lord Jagannath is offered to the deity of Lord Shiva. This is the Vaishnava principle. A Vaishnava does not deride even ordinary living entities, including the small ants. Everyone is offered proper respect according to his position. The offering, however, is in relation to the center, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Vishnu. The devotee who is highly elevated sees the relationship to Krishna in everything. He does not see anything as being independent of Krishna. That is his vision of oneness. So there's a very nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna tells Arjuna, after he instructs him to come to spiritual authority and inquire and serve and submit and to get knowledge that the self-realized soul can impart. And then the next verse says, once you've got this knowledge, when you've actually got the knowledge, then you'll never again fall into illusion. Because you will see through this knowledge, if you've actually got it, that all living beings are but parts and parcels of the Supreme, or in other words, Krishna says, that they're mine. So if you have a very dear friend, and something belongs to that friend, then automatically you feel an affinity towards that thing. You go into your friend's house and he's got a cute little dog, and if you kick the dog in the teeth and then come in to shake the hand of the friend will say, no, I don't think so. Text 56. With all respect, Daksha worshipped Lord Shiva with his share of the remnants of the yajna. After finishing the ritualistic sacrificial activities, he satisfied all the other demigods and the other people assembled there. Then, after finishing all these duties with the priests, he took a bath and was fully satisfied. Purport. Lord Rudra, Shiva, was properly worshipped with his share of the remnants of the yajna. Yajna is Vishnu, and whatever prasad is offered to Vishnu is offered to everyone, even to Lord Shiva. Sridhar Swami also comments in this connection, Swena Bhagina, the remnant of yajna are offered to all the demigods and others. And that's what we do in Shri Shri Nilamadhava temple. We offer wonderful preparations to them, and then we distribute those preparations to others. It's exactly the same procedure. Okay, we're getting there. Text 57. This is pretty hard to resist, isn't it? Text 57. Thus worshipping the Supreme Lord Vishnu by the ritualistic performance of sacrifice. Daksha was completely situated on the religious path. Moreover, all the demigods who had assembled at the sacrifice blessed him that he might increase his piety, and then he left. So nowadays, what do? The President of the United States fills up his whole Oval Office with fast food and then invites all the... Yeah. So, but what's supposed to happen is, in every house, we're supposed to offer the food, and then the family comes together and sits together and honors it. And what used to be, when I was a child, when in the 50s, we would say a prayer before we ate. Do you remember that? Does anybody remember that? How many people are doing that now? Zip. Maybe a few, but very few. And that's the problem, in essence. Moreover, all the demigods who had assembled at the sacrifice blessed him that he might increase his piety, and then they left. Purport. Although Daksha was considerably advanced in religious principles, he awaited the blessings of the demigods. Thus, the great sacrifice conducted by Daksha ended in harmony and peace. Translation. Maitreya said, I have heard that after giving up the body she had received from Daksha, Dakshayani, his daughter, took her birth in the kingdom of the Himalayas. She was born as a daughter of Mena. I have heard this from authoritative sources. Purport. Mena is also known as Menaka, and she is the wife of the king of the Himalayas. And we're going to end our reading there, and we can hear about the daughter of the Himalayas, who Sati became in her next life and was reunited with Lord Shiva, and therefore everything turned out to be amicable to everyone. So this is the process of Krishna consciousness. In those days we would offer big sacrifices, and in these days we offer this sacrifice. Hearing and chanting the glories of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar Devotion, and all the other books that Srila Prabhupada has translated and given us by his magnanimity. And worshipping the deities, coming before them, offering obeisances. So beautifully decorated. And here we have Radha Shishi, Radha Nila Madhava, so beautiful. Just go and see them and let them see you. We're not going to approve of them, we're going to be approved by them. And when we come in front of them, they're pleased, and then they give us strength, intelligence, and all the other things that we need to be happy in this world, despite all the inconsistencies and causes of suffering that we have to tolerate every minute of every day. Okay, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna. And now we're going to have a few minutes of reflections, something stuck in your mind that you heard that you want to either reflect about yourself or inquire about or discuss more about. Please let us know. We have our well of, when they call, what do they call it? When you start the well, priming the pump. I'd like you to meet Hannah, the primer of the pump. That was the question. And the questions going to nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We read this. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.5, Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho. The whole world is energy released from the Supreme Source, the personality of Godhead, who, it is further stated in Bhagavad Gita, acts in superior energies and inferior energies. The superior energy is a living entity, who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. As parts and parcels, the living entities are not different from the Supreme Lord. The energy emanated from him is not different from him. But in the actual activity of this material world, the living entity is under the different qualities of material energy in different forms. There are 8,400,000 life forms. So the part that stuck out to me here was, as parts and parcels, the living entities are not different from the Supreme Lord. The energy emanated from him is not different from him. So my realization is it's natural to have love. I can hear myself. It's natural to have love for everyone because they're part of Krishna, but that love is equal from the ant to the people to everything.
Yeah. I will defer to my senior godbrother to answer that or to reflect on that and expand on that. Giriraj Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
I don't know if she asked a question, but I'll reflect on her reflection. Yes, this is the philosophy of inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference. That we are one with the Lord in quality, but different in quantity. And because we are one in quality, we have a relationship. If we had nothing in common with another person, we couldn't have a relationship. So the
is the conch shell of Maya. we usually let it go by because not everyone can hear
yes,
properly.
sure.
And then we can reflect, this is what's trying to distract us from the truth. Conch shell of Maya. There's lots of conch shells of Maya out there.
Right. So we're simultaneously one and different. So because we're one, we have a chance to have a relationship with the Lord. If we didn't have anything in common, we wouldn't be able to have a relationship. But because we're different in quantity, as Srila Prabhupada said, God is infinite and we are infinitesimal. That was his way of saying it and sort of contrasting it with infinitesimal. He's the master and we're the servant. And not only do we have that relationship with him, but as you noted, every living entity has the same relationship with him, and and thus we are related with each other. And so with spiritual vision, we see everyone equally as part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servants of Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada said, people want brotherhood. People are clamoring for brotherhood, but what does it mean to be brothers? It means we have the same Father. So unless we accept that God is the Supreme Father, then we can't have brotherhood.
Question? Does that mean that because we see every living being the same, does that mean we treat every living being the same?
That is a very good and practical question. Yes, the Bhagavad Gita says, Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmi Gavihastane, that a sage sees with equal vision a a gentle and learned Brahmin, a cow, a dog, and a dog eater. The same. And we deal with them the same in the sense, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, as Maharaj read, that we want to bring everyone to Krishna consciousness. But otherwise, there's, although spiritually we see everyone equally, but materially there are differences, and consequently we deal with different living entities differently according to their bodies. As our godbrother Burijan Prabhu often says, everything in Krishna consciousness should be practical. So, yeah.
In other words, we don't treat a tiger the same way we do some other living entity. We don't go over in bed, make friends with it, get our hand chopped off.
Yeah.
So, but from a distance, we, give respect to that tiger because the soul is there, and also because the super soul is there in every living entity, directing everyone. And that was another point that was being made in the explanation by Vishnu, that he's sanctioning everything. He's in every single heart of every living entity, and he's in every atom in the form of time. So everything is moving, and we're being attracted to one another, and we're going apart from one another due to his sanction and his inspiration. So
I'm glad you mentioned tiger. I was thinking of it. It didn't come out, but you brought it out.
I had a visualization of the same topic, and it kind of just made the whole subject click for me a
you
little
need to
better.
get the microphone.
You can definitely change as you see fit, but I see it as though we are injected into this egg of material energy, which is atoms, and this energy that creates what we are told and perceive through material nature to be boundaries is the only reason we see any differences in ourselves qualitatively to Krishna. I kind of picture it as a cluster of atoms, and we're souls, like spiritual sparks of the whole floating around in it. And yeah, we're just like animating the bodies that we're blessed with.
Correct.
Is that?
Yes. That's actually correct. It just needs to be a little bit expanded upon, because the vision that we're just atoms floating around.
Oh no, I meant like the atoms are floating around us, his energy, and we are inside of it, and that kind of creates the boundaries that we can't see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's another way of saying that the material energy is covering the spiritual energy. Prabhupada uses the example that the sun is shining down on the ocean and evaporating and making cloud. And then that cloud covers the vision of the sun. So that's what it meant in that purport when it said that everything that emanates from God, this is an analogy. Here the sun and God are the analogy. And the material energy is created as a cloud in the spiritual energy, and then that material energy covers the living entities after God injects the living entities through his vision into the material nature. And then we come out with all these different bodies according to our desires from a previous lifetime. And once we get this in our intelligence and realize that actually we're here because we wanted to be here. God put us here and created the energy, and some of his energy, by his will, is made to be inert, even though ultimately it's spiritual, because nothing can come from a purely spiritual source that's not spiritual. So everything is ultimately spiritual, but only a very, very advanced spiritual personality can see that and then interact with it in a way that they don't become contaminated, that they don't become influenced in negative ways. So as long as we're conditioned souls, then we need to discriminate. And that's what the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad-Bhagavatam give us. An ability to be able to discriminate and at the same time learn how to interact with all the different forms in terms of living beings and places and events and all these things in a way that doesn't entangle us further, that disentangles us and gives us the vision to see who we are, and eventually the vision to see the spiritual world, because the spiritual world is the source of the material world, and it's reflected. The word reflected was used a number of times in the purports we heard tonight. So reflection, the principle of reflection, is important to understand. The material energy and the material nature is a reflection of the pure spiritual energy in the spiritual world. And therefore the principles of reflection, when you see your reflection in a mirror, you see it looks like you, but it's not you. It doesn't warm to the touch, and it doesn't have any ability to relate in relationship, as Maharaj was saying, to you, or with anyone else for that matter. And when you raise your left hand, then the right hand moves in the mirror. Everything's backwards. And they have these mirrors in some funny amusement parks where they have them bent in a certain way that when you come in front of them, your form looks fat or looks thin or partly thin and partly fat. Then we all laugh and, oh, look at that. You know, but it's all just a reflection. Or when we watch a movie, you know, there's a picture taken of an event or whatever, a drama, and then they put it on the screen, and all we're seeing is the lights flashing, but we get involved. Oh, look at that, and then we cry, or look at that, and we laugh, and look at that. It's like we're there, you know, but it's all just it's illusion. It's not real. And the material world is like that, but it's so real, lifelike, because it is the energy of God, and He's the one that's controlling it and, you know, organizing it. Then we just become illusioned, and we think that this is where we belong. We think this is reality. Patrick is going to comment on the comment on the comment.
All right. So I had a thought similarly to how a video plays image by image to create a moving thing. So
Exactly.
Krishna sees time as whole, beginning and there, and we experience it kind of like we're moving through it. So is every moment like sitting still and we're just moving through it like that?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. That was a good one.
Yes. That analogy has been given by Srila Prabhupada many times in his teachings and his purports. That what we're looking at, actually the subtle body is like a spool, and it carries the memories, not just of what we see, but of what we taste, we smell, we feel, we think. It's all stored in the subtle body. And then that subtle body gets wound up into the body of Vishnu at the end of the creation. And then when the new creation comes out, that subtle body unwinds, and we end up in the same place as we were before in the last creation. And that same subtle body carries us to our next material body, depending on what we're thinking of. Therefore, the perfection of life can only be attained if we're thinking about the right thing when we leave our body. And that is the purpose of this knowledge, is to teach us how to think and feel and will when we leave the body. And because none of us know when we're going to leave the body. Does anybody here know when they're going to leave their body? Exactly. So better we start to prepare now, because we don't know when we're going to leave our body. That is the purpose of one of the main purposes of the Krishna consciousness movement, is to teach us that art, that science and that art of how to constantly think of Krishna. These two rules are the actual rules, and all the other rules that we have, cleanliness, punctuality, to do this, to do that, not to eat this, not to eat that, and all these things are described in the Gita, how to live in the mode of goodness and not in passion or ignorance. They're all meant to help us become so attached to Krishna that will think of him all the time. And all the other rules are servants of those two rules. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. And whatever you think you're doing, if what you're doing is causing you to forget him, we don't want to do that rule. So the rules of the Krishna consciousness movement, how to live a practical life, and the rules govern everything, from our relationships, to our food, to how we understand things, to how we perform sacrifice and penance, to how we give in charity. There's ways to do it, and there's ways not to do it. Everything that will take us to the point of remembering Krishna all the time. And then if you're remembering Krishna all the time, it doesn't make any difference when you leave your body. And when you actually realize all these things, you become free from fear. Because fear is caused by us not knowing what's going to happen next. Hare Krishna. So with that, I'm going to stop today's reflections, because I have to get to bed early, because I have to get up real early and read Chaitanya Charitamrita for the audiobook tomorrow.
We should end now.
Yes. Early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Hare Krishna. Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Daksha Yagya ki jai. Lord Vishnu ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.